Hello, imaginary friends, and welcome to the Imaginaries Literary Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our episode. We are the Imaginaries. I'm Caleb. With me is Daniel and Timothy. We are aspiring authors, and we're on a journey right now trying to get published. In the meantime, we're making this podcast to learn more, to help others who are on the same journey as us, and just to have fun. And so today we're going to talk about some of our favorite movies that were books that were then turned into movies. And so without further ado, I think Daniel should go first.
Okay.
Take that curveball.
Way to throw Daniel under the bus.
Completely.
I have this sort of subcategory in this category,
Okay.
which is movies made from books by authors who routinely make their books thinking that they'll be made into movies.
Oh, that's interesting.
Michael Crichton
That
is a prime example, so I thought I'd bring that up. Obviously, Jurassic Park.
Yes.
There are a bunch of Michael Crichton books made into movies, but I feel like, it's fairly obvious that one is the real prize in the collection. Like, I mean, I don't even think I was alive when it came out, but The Andromeda Strain was one of his early successes.
Yep.
Which was actually a really good movie. But I still feel like Jurassic Park definitely takes the gold on that one.
Did you read Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I really did. I actually managed to read it before I watched it.
So question, one of my favorite things to do is if I hear that a movie is coming out and I know that there's a book, it's like based off of a book, I go out and I buy the book or rent it from my local library. Which is just
what they want you to.
Yeah, exactly. But then I read it and then I'll watch the movie. And almost every single time, I'm going to bring this up later, but almost every single time, it's like 97% of the time, the book is a million times better than the movie.
Yeah.
Do you think that Jurassic Park, the book, is better than Jurassic Park, the
movie? It's really hard. They're both really good. In every other Michael Crichton book that was later turned into a movie, I feel like there's just too much in the book. And I don't just mean in terms of straight content, but there are too many nuances available, in print that you don't get in the movie because they just couldn't or didn't put it in. But I feel like, there's so many fun nuances that obviously Spielberg knows how to put in and did Jurassic Park. But yeah, so I feel like there are a few things in the book, yes, that didn't get in the movie. But are they essential to the story? Not really. I feel like the movie is at least as good as the book. That's my personal feeling.
And I would agree with that. I would agree that they're at least on par with each other.
Sure. I don't know if
I feel good about that. If you agree.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree. Put it in the comments if you agree.
Okay.
If I'm crazy. But I think that as a medium, film is just easier to digest.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt when I read the book, and this was one of the things that I did backwards. I watched the movie because I was super young. And actually, I have a really funny story. It was in a drive-in. It was a triple feature in the drive-in. And the first movie was Little Rascals. Then the next movie was The Shadow with Alec Baldwin playing the Shadow, the superhero. It was like one of the superhero movies before Marvel came
before they were any good.
Yes, exactly. They were terrible. It was like that and The Phantom and all these other crappy movies, but it was that and then it was Jurassic Park, and I wasn't allowed to watch The Shadow or Jurassic Park, but I popped up and was watching from the back of the car. I was watching both The Shadow and Jurassic Park, and I saw some things that I shouldn't have seen with my little young prepubescent Caleb brain.
Yeah.
But
you spied with your little eye.
Yes.
Wait, hang on. Your family took you to a triple feature.
Yes.
And 2/3 of the time you weren't allowed to watch the screen.
Correct. This is yes.
That's cruel.
But anyway, so my parents got it on VHS and I watched it when I was still young. And I got so scared at the raptor scene when they were chasing the kids. I turned it off and I went in my bed and I just sat there shaking. And my family came home because they were grocery shopping or something. And I was so scared and thought it was like the raptors because they looked so real that I like was so scared and like trembling. And then my family came in, they're like, Caleb. And as soon as I heard them say Caleb, like my fear was gone. I was like, oh, but all that to say, what Steven Spielberg did with the special effects, with the puppetry, like the animatronics and CG, in addition to that, made it such a spectacle and something that you could just like get pulled into and entertained the whole time. Like I loved that movie. Like it was such it was one of the movies that got me into wanting to make movies. So and if you're just joining us, all three of us are filmmakers, former filmmakers, indie filmmakers. And so this was one of the movies that really got me into it. Like, wow, that's amazing. How do you get a dinosaur on the screen to eat somebody off of a toilet? So it was awesome. So I watched the movie and it was hugely impactful on me. And then I read the book later in life and was like, I am so bored. This is one of the most boring books I've ever read. And, it could be because I was young or whatever, but I did not enjoy the book like at all. So, hey, if you want to hate me and you can leave it in the comments, go ahead, tell me how stupid I am. But
totally thought when you disagreed, you were going to say that the book was better because you never actually said, I guess. But like, I just expected that's what you were saying.
I was the opposite. And this is one of the 3% where the book is better, which I'm going to talk about it a little bit more when you
mean where the movie is better?
Well, yes, where the movie is better. 3% of when the movie is better than the book. So
I do think like everything you said is true about the movie. I also think, and about what's the way Spielberg does, for example, directing for effects. But I feel like there's obviously, I mean, everybody knows with the way he directs actors is a big deal. But I feel like there's something special to being able to direct actors to believe and to interact with something that's not there, or at least not wholly there, or not something's there, but it's not what you think it is, or it's not what it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that that's a lot more common now because that's just what's expected in every genre except for straight up drama. But I still feel like it's way too easy to have a movie with tons of effects and no believability because the actors don't believe it.
Right.
Because they're not living a real experience.
Yeah.
But when I see Jeff Goldblum's reaction, and all three of their reaction, like when they're all in the Jeep and they encounter the brachiosaurs, is it first? I'm not sure. And the way he just like giggling it to himself.
Yeah.
Like I had that reaction. Like that was my reaction when, well, probably like 30 times already with my kid. And, he's having this moment in his childhood. And I'm like, this is real. Like
you grab Nikki's head and turn her and she's like, takes off her
glasses. Exactly. Yes. And something about experiencing his childhood reminds me of Jeff Goldblum experiencing dinosaurs. I can't explain it.
That's great.
And of course the fractalness of children as well.
Of course.
But because fractalness is a word. Might be.
So Timothy, maybe you'll have a better one. What's your?
Yeah. So I mentally broke this down into 3 categories for myself, which are my favorite book adaptation, where I think they actually did a better job in the movie than in the book.
Cool.
My favorite adaptation, which I think is the most faithful, and then my favorite adaptation that I just love as a movie, irregardless of how it did.
Which one are you going to do first?
So because we're already discussing book versus, I'm going to do my favorite movie that I think is better than the book, and I'm going to go with Princess Bride.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Absolutely love Princess Bride. Great film. I read the book after having seen the movie 359 times. I could probably quote the entire movie start to finish, but was very disappointed in the book.
Really?
Yeah.
That's one that I haven't read. I haven't done it yet.
I was not very disappointed, but keep going.
What was the biggest disappointment?
I can't say that I recommend it.
Okay.
I think my biggest disappointment is it's written in a way that the author is like has this running commentary throughout the book about different things that he's cutting or his own, but not in like a fun, like the grandfather way reading to his kid. It's distracting from the story rather than adding to it. There are parts where he like talks about how boring the next part is going to be, and so he's not going to tell you it. And so it's like, well, that's kind of boring.
So I have a question for you. Do you ever watch movies with the director commentary on?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I used to.
Did you enjoy that?
I'm one of the ex-filmmakers here.
Yeah,
Back when I was a filmmaker, I used to do that a lot.
Yeah. Did you like it? Was it interesting to you then?
I did, provided it was a movie I already liked.
Okay.
But I would never like watch a movie for the first time listening to the director's commentary.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
And that's kind of what reading the book felt like.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like you're reading it for the first time with the director's commentary on, distracting you from what's happening. It felt just distracting and detracting from the storyline. Right. And then there are a few minor things that within the book that they left out of the movie, that they are changed in the movie, that I felt just detracted from some of the fairy elements, where certain things were kind of over explained that just flow very naturally in the movie because they don't try to over explain certain things. So
do you remember the first time that you watched the movie Princess Bride and fell in love with it? Was it on first viewing or was it on third viewing?
Yes, on first viewing.
Okay. And what part of it was that when you were like...
I would have been like 5 or 6.
Okay. So you were young.
It must have been probably the second movie I ever saw.
Okay. Do you remember what the first one was?
The first one was Star Wars, the original Star Wars, which...
Good job.
Blew my little
Timothy's
like
mom and dad.
Absolutely enthralled, absolutely like bewildered and bewitched and transported to this other galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
I would say I wanted to become a filmmaker for the longest time because of Star Wars. That was my Jurassic Park, was this like, wait, you mean you can create an entire universe where there's different characters and different creatures and different planets and lose yourself in a story set there. And then Princess Bride, I think, would probably be the second one, at least the second one I remember. Which also, there's giants, escapes, miracles, true love,
explosions, fencing, fighting.
And just loved being transported to a different place. Yeah. And I thought the movie carried an innocence and childlikeness that the book didn't. Not to mention hilarious.
Yes, exactly. It is hilarious. Can you think of a scene in the movie that's better in the movie than in the book? And other than all of them, just can you think of one specific? That might be a long stretch. I mean, it depends on how long ago you read the book. And
it's been a while since I've read the book, so I don't know that I could do well. I think the torture scene.
Okay. Not to 50.
I think it's done a lot better because you get more of like an interaction of the characters.
Yeah.
In the book, he basically just describes how Wesley detaches from reality during the torture.
Oh.
And how he's like outwardly screaming and whatever to like look like he's being tortured, but internally he's just kind of detached and thinking about Buttercup, and so he's like completely untouched by it.
You're right, that's not nearly as good.
No.
Yeah, until like they ratchet up to 50 and then he's like, that's shattered, but it breaks through that. But I feel like the interaction between like Wesley and the albino, and then like
I love
posterity, so be honest.
Be honest.
It's so good.
It's the interplay of the characters, and they're completely like uniqueness in how they relate to each other.
Yeah.
Makes that scene incredible in the movie, and it's kind of flat in the book.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
So that's one specific one I can think of.
I told you guys this story, or I think I just told you guys, but I got The Princess Bride out of the library and I started reading the foreword, and it was like, oh, this is a story that my dad read to me when I was a kid and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, and he's like, so this is my recollection of it. And I'm only going to jump to the exciting scenes. I'm not going to tell any of the boring scenes. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, this is crap. I wanted to read the real book. I like returned it. And then and having no idea that was the actual book. That is The Princess Bride.
I actually was confused too at first.
Oh, I
had that same
mad.
experience, but not in the same way.
He's like, I ran through World War II and was looking everywhere and I couldn't find it. And I was so mad. And I returned it. And then I talked to you guys about it like years later. And you guys are like, yeah, that's the real book. And I'm like, oh, dang it. I should have. Oh, man.
I forgot that as an adult, you still believe that. That's fantastic.
I still believed it. Yeah. Because I didn't get it until I was an adult, because I didn't know that there was a novel. And then I was like, oh, it's based off of a book. Oh, because I remember it was, watch out, FCC, or don't watch this, FCC, because the first copy that we had of Princess Bride is a pirate version. We recorded it off of TV, and it was like a double feature. And the first feature was like The Princess and the Pea, and it was supposed to be as funny as The Princess Bride. And then the next one was The Princess Bride. So I just thought it was like a TV movie, made for TV movie or whatever, because I was super young when we had that. And so I'd watch it all the time until the VHS like died, and then it was like DVDs, and they came along, and I was like, what's DVD? But it was great. It just, it had me fooled. It totally had me fooled, because I had no idea there was a novel. And then I'm like, oh, somebody wrote it. And then you know how they do the novelty, they make a book out of a movie. So like they make a movie and it's
novelization.
Yes, a novelization of a movie. And I'm like, that's so lame. That is so dumb. Because it's based off of a movie. It's like, no. It's supposed to be the other way around, man. So, but yeah, I think that's really funny.
There are times when I watch a movie and I think, I feel like I could make a book out of this and it would be better.
Yeah. And I would not be surprised, because you are a talented writer, Daniel.
Oh, thank you. That's not my point. I mean, like, I feel like someone could make a book out of this and it would be much better.
No, I'm not kidding, though. You're a fantastic writer, so
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll talk about mine now, and I'm going to go in the same vein as what we've been going in, where I think,
I will talk about mine now.
Yes, I shall, and it's going to be one that I hate, because I don't like the book, but I liked the movie a lot. So it's actually I'm going to do two of those, but I'll only talk about one of them right now. So don't worry, everybody. You can just skip over this part if you don't like my talking, because I talk too much. But anyway, the first one is called The Revenant. I'm sure you've seen it. It's so good. Amazing. Used natural light for everything. Amazing acting. Really, really cool story about revenge, right? It's about a dude loses his son to murder, and he's trying to revenge his son. And so I watched the movie and I was like, wow, that was really good. I really enjoyed it for a lot of reasons. And I found out that it was based on a book. So this is another one that I read after I saw the movie and enjoyed the movie. And so I thought, I'm going to love this book, and I hated it. I didn't like it, and I'll tell you why. It's fake, because they don't know. They don't know what happened to the dude, the main character in the book / movie. They said, well, there's no evidence of him doing this or that, but this is what we think he did, like multiple times. And so they would talk about, maybe he did this, maybe he did that. And I just thought, like, this is why not just make it a better story then? Like, you could have made it a better story, because it didn't follow. It was more like a historical, like a history book with a little bit of prose in there here and there than it was like a novel about somebody. And he's a historical character or whatever, so it makes sense. But to me, it just felt it was a letdown because it felt fake, because they kept saying, well, we don't know exactly what happened, so this is what we think happened. And I was just like, what is it? What is going on? What am I reading right now? I hate this. And I was like, the movie was so much better. It was way more entertaining, like so much more entertaining. And in real life, he didn't have a son. The thing happened. He got attacked by a bear and he was left for dead.
So it was just a Moby Dick?
Yes, in a way, but not good. And even though I hated Moby Dick, it's not I don't know. There was just something. And I think there was something about it because it was sold or propped up as a based on a true story. And we kind of talked about this already. Anything can be based on a true story or inspired by a true story, So I think it was just really a disappointing read. And I think because I liked the movie and then I was so disappointed in the book, like the premise of the book, that it just made me so upset. And I was like, I don't even know why I'm reading this. Why am I reading this? But I did, and I finished it, and because I don't know how to not finish a book. So, yeah, it's tough. If you want to watch something, watch this, or maybe it's over here. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere.